Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. Before I dive into what I'm going to talk about today, I just want to let y'all know that I will be talking about death and grieving. And so if you're not in the right headspace to listen, I'll see you in my next video and take care of yourself. So it's been a long while since I did a Let's Chat video, and even since I did my last life update, more life has happened. I really kind of struggled with the idea of this video, or like what to talk about, what to say, etc. So I guess I'll just dive into it. I guess to make some sort of like a timeline, when I did my life update, I want to say that was like the very end of June, beginning of July. I'm gonna put this all over my face because my face is feeling dry, and it's like supposed to be cooling. No, it's hydrating. So towards the middle of July, my oldest sister went into hospice. She had been diagnosed with breast cancer in 2016, and so in July of this year, last month, she went into hospice and was there for a week, and passed away last month. I think like exactly 2 weeks ago. And so I wanted to kind of make a video about, just in my own life in the past couple months, what it's been like, just dealing with grief. And I know also for a lot of people, you know, even if somebody that they know personally hasn't passed away, just living in the midst of a pandemic, like on a wide scale, a lot of people are just facing death and grief in a way that they haven't before. And I do think that like in the US we have a very weird set of rituals around grief that make it hard to mourn somebody's passing. And also, if you hear rain, I kind of thought it would be fitting to record this today. It's like gloomy out. I'm actually kind of enjoying it. Enjoying like feeling warm inside the house today. But yeah, so that's what the sound is. I've mentioned in my previous Let's Chat videos, really from the first one, because that one I made maybe, gosh, like a week or two, like a couple weeks after my grandpa had died. And so I mentioned on my channel before dealing with grief and just things increasingly getting more and more difficult. And I feel like I hadn't experienced some of the emotions that I felt from his passing before. And so nothing can prepare you for death. I think even the fact that my sister was in hospice, like it allowed for a grace period to talk to her and to process and everything, but nothing prepares you. But what I will say is that I feel like, I feel like I never really stopped grieving that first loss, and so the second one, it almost made it like compounded, but in that way, it also was familiar, I guess. I really didn't plan out what to say in this video. I just knew, like, okay, I need to talk about this in some ways, kind of just release it into the world, and, you know, maybe somebody can empathize. So if it's not as succinct as normal, it's to be expected, I suppose. But I think something that I keep returning to with grieving is also the concept of grace, and that it's very necessary when grieving to just allow yourself the space to process, because as time passes, you'll be better for it, as opposed to kind of compartmentalizing. I've been kind of struggling with that because I dove, not right away. I did take my first couple days of my job actually were bereavement, but I do kind of feel like I jumped straight into work right away. And with my grandpa, I just like quit my job. I was temping and had to travel up here from North Carolina, but I had to go to New York, and I was just like, I don't know how long I'll be up here. And I am, in retrospect, grateful for that amount of time, because like I was saying, like giving yourself time to process, it doesn't make it easier, but it makes it feels better to know I'm not going to be okay for a while than to keep forcing it, you know? And I think that can be said for a lot of things. That can be said for any type of transition in life, whether that's, you know, what does my life look like without somebody, you know, moving, breakups, you know, potentially welcoming a new life, because I've heard a couple new moms say you kind of grieve that your old life is like gone. But whatever, like whatever that might look like, I think that it's you'll be better for it. You'll be better for it to allow yourself to feel those feelings than to just push it to the side. I think one thing that I kind of learned after my grandpa had died is that in theory there's no wrong way to grieve. There is a lot of different like stages, obviously, but you know, if fortunately you're surrounded by good people, they'll understand, or at least empathize with how you're feeling. I will say, and I won't spend too much time on this, but I also have seen how in my own grieving process, how people handle that, you know, who only is there it's like fair weather friends and others, you know, who's only there for the easy parts. And then once it's hard, they're just like, yeah, I'll say that. And it's, well, I'll get to that. It's made me do my own sort of reflecting on who I am, but I'll get to that. So yeah, I guess just to finish that thought, I've kind of come to realize that it's better to just take this space and just accept I'm in shock, I'm in disbelief, I don't know what my life is going to look like moving forward, etc. It's hard for a million reasons, but one of the things that's hard with my sister is that she's my sister, you know. And so there are a lot of things that I just assumed that she would be there for. That's what I'll say on that. I guess to go back to what I was just saying about doing my own reflecting then on who I want to be, what I mean by that is less so like what is my legacy gonna be, which I think is natural to think about, thinking about our own mortality. But what I mean by that is like, how am I a friend to people, or a sister, a daughter, whatever? Like, how am I supporting those around me who need me? And I will say, I think in the past couple months, but then weeks especially, because again, it feels like stuff is just getting compounded. I've been truly astounded by my friends and just the amount of people that really care for me, because I was kind of not in great detail, but was kind of like updating people on social media what was happening. And even while my sister was in hospice, I felt so covered. And that's the word that I've been thinking about a lot recently, is just being covered. And so I guess the stuff that I've been thinking about, like what do I want to embody, is grace, for sure. And initially I'd wanted this video to be about grace, but I don't want to push myself too hard to be like stuck on a topic when there's so much that I could say in other departments. So, hey, but it's in the title. But I've really been, for one, let me just say that in the past couple weeks, I've found myself definitely thinking that I'm like 20. And I don't know what that's about. I think part of it is because the fact that two people who were like pillars in my life aren't alive anymore. For some reason, that makes me feel so, I guess it makes me feel young, because I just think like, well, how much time am I gonna have to go through not having them physically there? But I don't know what it is, but I've even been saying, like, as I'm talking about stuff, like, oh, that was like 10 years ago, or that was like 15 years ago, or whatever, thinking like, oh, I was like 7 or something, and like, no. Like, I had to do a reflection recently that was like, what would you have told yourself 10 years ago? And I was like, I don't know, I was like in elementary school. Like, no, I was in high school. Like, I like knew what my personality was then, you know? But yeah, something that I keep coming back to is just the idea of grace. And I think a lot of the time when people think of grace, they think of this like divine sense of grace, or they think of like poise and like refinement, and that's not what I mean. But I don't know if y'all can see that, but I have a tattoo of the word grace because for myself, when I think about my own relationship that I have with myself, something that's very important to me that I extend to myself and thus try to extend to others, because how you feel about yourself is a reflection of, is reflected in how you treat other people, and that shows, and y'all need to work on that. But something that I try to extend myself often, and it's hard, is grace. And I think grace is important dealing with grief, because you have to allow yourself the grace, compassion, whatever you want to call it, just to recognize that you're not okay. And then also, you know, like I said, how you feel about yourself shows in how you treat other people. I've really been trying to extend that feeling of grace to those around me, especially my family members, because we're all just like what the fuck is this, you know? So I try very much to exude grace. And again, I don't mean that as like being poised. That's something that I used to hold very tightly too, is like this idea of being well-spoken, or I don't like how that went on, being well-spoken or whatever. I don't think of that as much anymore, because you're not always going to say the right thing. But I think that being graceful is about compassion. It's about warmth. It's about offering comfort and recognizing when people are going through a hard time, etc. This mascara feels nasty. There's yet another product that is going to expire that I need to use up. And so I'm like, oh, let me just start wearing mascara again. It really does make a difference. I just find that with this one, I have to use such a light hand, or else I can literally feel it. It feels like I have fake eyelashes on. Yeah, I don't think grace is so much about saying the right thing, but it's about being genuine. I think that's a message I keep getting over and over again, and I think that that's one of the many things that I admired and still admire about my sister, is that she was always she was real, you know? You always knew where you stood with her. And that is grace, is being genuine with people and letting people know, positive or negative, what's really good. I will say that I think my sister and my grandfather both exuded both grace and warmth in like remarkable ways, especially as it related to other people. You know, like my grandpa was the type of person where somebody came by the house twice, they were family. You know? And he just embraced others so much, and really made people feel at home and made people feel like family, regardless of if we were related whatsoever or how we were related, you know. And then with my sister, it was like you could always talk to her about anything and everything, and she'd tell you what she was thinking. It's not like she would agree, but she was somebody that would drop everything to listen to you, you know. And And that's how I want to be. You know, I want people to feel like, okay, I know I can go to Allison with my problem, and at the very least I'll listen. You know, I might not be able to fix it, and I might not even tell you what you want to hear, but I want to be there. I have been thinking a lot about warmth also, because I think, for one, just moving from the South back to the North and back to New York specifically has made me think a lot about, just in the most micro of interactions, that there's really a choice there about being standoffish or being warm to others. And I've also seen how, in my own grieving process, how much I've valued people being warm towards me. And really, I've been thinking about times that, you know, people I cared about were in pain, and that maybe I wasn't warm or didn't know the right words to say. But I think it's just been lost on me how sometimes folks just, if they don't know what to say, they don't say anything. And I don't think that that's a good way to be. So just for myself personally, and I know other people can relate to this, I just feel like my life is in such a season of just difficulty. And I'm really trying my hardest to just exist in that without running from it. And there's a lot for me to think about. I've again just been thinking about how I think generally when we think about death, when we think about our own deaths especially, we think about what will people say about us. And so I've been thinking, like, okay, what am I doing now? You know, what am I doing now to make sure that I am who I want to be? And that, again, even in those like most micro of interactions, that it's important to embody my own ideals for myself. And I'm learning that warmth and grace are powerful, you know? That doesn't mean you're getting walked on or anything like that. And that if I'm going through life aspiring to be this like warm and loving person when I'm not, it's for a reason. So I just hope that if you're going through anything similar, that this offered you a piece of company. You know, none of us are alone in our struggles. We might be isolated, but we're not the first nor the last people to go through things. And that also doesn't take away the pain and the hurt that comes with those challenges. So hope that you're taking care of yourself, and I'll see you in my next video.